Hello to my fellow Earth children. I kind of just wanted to briefly talk about some of the things that I did not know were autism, and neither did anyone else. By anyone else, I mean parents, teachers, mental health care providers, etc. Also, disclaimer, keep in mind, autism is a spectrum. People experience different characteristics, different symptoms differently. No two autistic people are going to be the same. So this is my experience. But I think the biggest one for me was probably social confusion. Just this general overarching theme of not understanding why things work the way that they do, but just going with it anyway. I've been very, very, very kind of observational my whole life. I always recognized how other people behaved in different contexts, in different situations, and I think I picked up really quickly on ways to mirror that and mimic people's social behavior. But more often than not, there is this social confusion and not necessarily knowing how to act or not understanding what's right and what's wrong, and just feeling a lot of brain fog during social situations. Especially, school, for example. Things particularly got hard once I entered middle school. So I dealt with migraines and what I now perceive to be meltdowns essentially every single day of middle school, to the point where I was running away. I would go to the bus stop and then run away, go run down the street and sit in front of some random person's house, because I wanted to do anything that I possibly could to avoid going to school and avoid putting myself through the stress of, not only the social world, but also the change 6 times a day when you go to different classes, the noise of the lunchroom, not having friends, not knowing what to do, not knowing where to go, that sort of thing. I think the second thing, which seems very obvious to me now, so it feels almost funny talking about it, but all of the ways that I was essentially stimming and I was unaware of. So a big one for me would be pacing back and forth. But the thing is, I often learned to, do some, if not all of these things in private. I still somehow knew that, it wasn't socially acceptable, but my body also knew that it's what I needed to be regulated. So most of the time it was in private, but pacing back and forth was a big one for me in my bedroom, listening to the same songs over and over and over again, which it's so funny because I thought that was normal. Not to say that no neurotypical people do this, but I just couldn't understand how you wouldn't listen to a good song 10 times in a row or all day long and not play anything else, because whatever sounds it was making were so insanely satisfying to my brain that I just had to keep playing them over and over again. And that was one of the greatest joys I felt during my childhood, and honestly even today. I love me a good repetitive song, rocking or swaying back and forth. I think those are some of the major ones for me. I also wanted to point out the fact that I struggle to listen to new music. I have, say, in my Spotify, all my liked songs, and the past maybe 15 songs that I've liked in the past few months is what I'm listening to every single day, and it takes a lot for me to actively jump outside of that and listen to a new song or listen to a new artist. It's very rare for me, which is kind of annoying because I want to listen to more music and new music, but I just don't want the change. Like, I just like the security of like, these are my 10 songs that I'm gonna listen to every day. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze. But the third one goes back to my childhood. More so, I just remember being told that I'm sensitive, and I remember having very strong, responsive reactions, like being sensitive to loud noises, to pain. The biggest things that overload me are definitely social situations and just loud noises. Just noise in general can overwhelm me very easily and very quickly. Number 4 is a fun one. So it was the joy of organizing and compartmentalizing and rearranging things. Growing up, I remember doing this for fun. Like, it was just fun to me to open all my drawers and take everything out and try to organize it even more so than it was already organized. Or I would just do it for the heck of it, like take it out and put it all back in because it was so satisfying to me. I got a dollhouse when I was like 8 years old, and I remember being so excited not to like play house or mommy and daddy or mommy and mommy, but I was so excited to put all of the pieces of furniture in the places they belonged. Like, I was excited to put the bed in the bedroom and the chairs at the table. I just think that's so funny. I don't know why it's not that funny. Even my mom, because I was talking to my mom when I was like going through all of this and coming to terms with the fact that there was something about me that needed uncovering. And she told me that she remembers me always being that way. Like, just loving to organize and arrange things, and you know, people always attribute that kind of thing to, oh, you're a girl. Girls are just clean and organized. No. First of all, that's why gender roles suck shit, but it was more than that. And not only, you know, kind of loving the act of rearranging and organizing things and seeing them that way, but also the stress that I would feel if they weren't. Because it could be very hectic, very overstimulating, or just the mere fact that, like, why is the dining room table in the living room? In my dollhouse, it's not supposed to be there. The dining room table is supposed to be in the dining room, not the living room. The couch is supposed to be in the living room. Take it out of the living room. Like, just that stress over things not being the way that they're supposed to be really stuck out to me. Number 5 is really grand, really great, really fun, really rad, and that's having no friends. You know, this is not to say that autistic people cannot or do not have friends, or that they aren't extroverted, because there are a lot of extroverted autistic people and a lot of autistic people with hella friends. But I was not one of them, because for me, I think one of my greatest areas that I struggled in was social difficulty, social communication, reciprocation. That is probably the area in which I am impacted most, arguably, or at least was as a child. So I never really had friends after, you know, say 5th grade. I had one best friend that I kind of had until high school, and, you know, eventually I think she kind of moved on. And so, I mean, in college, I'm in my final year of college, and I've made a few friends. I think it's more accurate to say that they had summoned me. But if I do make friendships, they don't last. They are also graduated now, but it's just the difficulty and the struggle to keep up with social relationships and reciprocate properly. I often don't know how. I find myself confused. I find myself stressed just at the mere thought of having this friend, because I'm like, well, you know, if someone texts me, for example, I'm just like, what do I say? Like, I don't know what to say. I know there's a right and a wrong way to do things, but I don't necessarily know what the right way and the wrong way are. I just know that I can do this wrong and I don't know how to do it right. Someone actually mentioned, I made a video, I think 2 years ago, that was titled "Why I Have No Friends at 19," and someone actually commented, oh, it could be autism. And I remember reading that back when I posted the video, and I didn't like really think anything of it. I mean, I didn't know I was autistic, but sometimes I think about that today and I'm just like, that is so funny. Like someone picked up on that, like just the way that I was describing my experience. And you know, part of one of the big reasons that I didn't have friends is because I felt that it was so difficult to connect, and I never felt connected to anyone, and I didn't know how to as much as I would like to have those close relationships. It's so hard. So shout out to whoever picked up on that. I think that's it's pretty funny to me. This one is kind of minor, but being funny without trying. There came a point in my life where I recognized that people would tell me I was funny, and they thought I was funny, and people would often laugh at things that I said. And it seemed to be a matter of people thinking that things that I'd say were funny, or family members, for example, being like, you're funny. And I was just like, oh, I guess I'm funny. But half of the time when I would say things and people would laugh, I didn't know they were funny. Like, if you think I'm funny, I'll take it. I think that's a good thing. I mean, I like the fact that you're laughing and I have the ability to make people laugh, but my confusion came from the fact that I didn't understand that what I had said or done was funny. Like, it was just I was just speaking my truth, or, you know, saying whatever thought had come to my head. And I was just like, oh, haha, wow, I guess that was funny. That kind of a thing. So kind of going back to childhood, I had a very, very, very rough childhood growing up. Mental health wise, it was so extremely difficult. I definitely had depression, was self-harming, I had eating disorders for years. A lot of mental health struggles that are actually associated with being an undiagnosed autistic, or more specifically, an undiagnosed autistic woman, or assigned female at birth. And I had all of those. I had all of the things that are correlated with being an undiagnosed autistic person. And kind of looking back on that after, you know, having this information about myself, it was extremely frustrating, but also validating in a way to see that, damn, all signs really did point, but, you know, we all missed it. This one I do find interesting, black and white thinking to the absolute max. I've always thought, you know, it's either this or this. It's either the absolute worst thing in the world or the absolute best, and there's no in between. There's no gray area at all whatsoever. And I know human beings in general are very prone to this type of thinking. It's something that makes us feel safe, or makes us feel like we can navigate the world and kind of eliminate some of that uncertainty. But when I found out that black and white thinking can be especially prominent in autistic brains, I again had like a little light bulb moment, and I was like, wow, because I've really struggled, and still do to this day, to see that gray area, to consider that there can be more to the story. It can be really unhealthy, really detrimental. So the last one is just feeling alien. As long as I can remember, since I, came out the womb, I remember feeling like I didn't belong here. And that can sound really dark and really depressing, and it definitely can be, but in a more abstract version, I guess, it's literally a feeling of feeling like I wasn't meant to be here on this earth. I was misplaced, or born in the wrong way. This underlying feeling that something was wrong with me, that I was different, and I always knew. I didn't know why, and I didn't know how, and I second guessed myself so much, to the point where I thought I was just crazy. Like, you're not different, you're the same as everyone else. But from as long as I can remember living, I don't ever remember a point in my life where I didn't just have this underlying knowing that something made me different, that something made existing as hard as it was, and turned out to be autism, y'all. But to end on a more positive note, a lot of the things that I experienced during my childhood were not necessarily a result of being autistic, but rather being autistic and not knowing, and no one around me knowing. I think when, people are aware of the way that their brain works, or, maybe have support in place, or, someone who does understand, that can make a world of a difference. Because now that I kind of have this information and this ability to understand the way that my brain works, I can stop asking why. Something I used to say all the time is, I don't know why. I don't know why I'm like this. I don't know why I do this. I don't know why I think this. Why? Why? Like, why? I didn't know why, and I wanted to know why. The autistic urge to know why. For the most part, I have the answer, and I know why. I understand why my experience is the way that it is, and that changes your life. So I hope that one person maybe found this useful, or discovered a thing or two, or just enjoyed having a little chit chat. I hope to maybe summon some neurodivergent peeps. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. I always hate the end of these videos because I never know how to end it, and I feel like I'm just like trying to quietly, secretly tiptoe out of a room and like hope no one sees me. So I'm gonna go now. Goodbye.